The purpose of this video is to give you a little bit of information regarding the type of materials and products that go into making the Magnuson home furniture. Typically, we will use the similar materials on all of our products. Magnuson Home prides itself on using a quality product. It's important to us that the product is reliable, that it's well built, and it's something that the customer can use in their home for many, many years. But I wanted to show you, the furniture from the beginning used to have product that was all solid wood. The problem with solid wood, if the whole piece of furniture was solid wood, when the climate would get dry, the wood would shrink and crack, and it became very unstable over time. That is something that the consumer would not be happy with. So what's happened over time, or through the evolution of products, they've come up with an engineered material. We have many different types of engineered materials, but the most stable, we'll start with here, there's three types, and I have it showing it for you here. I have MDF, which stands for medium density fiberboard. That's where they take wood, they actually take solid wood, it gets ground up into a very fine fiber, it runs through a machine with adhesive on it, or glue, and it gets compressed down into a board that is very, very dense, very stable, and is not affected by the climate, whether it's cold or hot, wet or dry. It's not affected by it at all. Then we have the next one up here. You'll see how the center of this is much more. The wood is not a fiber; it's actual chunks or little pieces, chips of wood. We call this particle board. This wood here, again, it takes the same manufacturing process, but we use chips of wood versus individual fibers. Then you can see the next one that I have here is what we call plywood. The plywood takes layers of thin wood, usually about 1 millimeter thick, and they just keep building it up to get to the thickness that we need, whether it be 12 millimeter, 15 millimeter, 8 millimeter. Again, a very stable product using solid woods. Then you'll see, of course, the top piece that I have up here is solid wood itself. In this case here, it's solid pine. But there's many different species of solid woods that we use. We use a poplar imported from America. We'll use pine imported from New Zealand or Argentina. We'll use rubber wood, which is a very hard, durable wood that's actually grown locally here in Asia. We can get it out of Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, many, many countries. Rubber wood is actually used, because it's grown locally, they use it to tap it for latex, which is what they use for the compounds for medical gloves or for tires on automobiles. But the life cycle, the lifespan of the rubber wood tree is only about 10 years. So they cut it down and they still use the wood. We use the wood for a lot of furniture and a lot of home components that go in the consumer's home. So just as a quick recap, we have MDF, which is medium density fiberboard. We have particle board, which is larger chips, and you can see how it's much more coarse. And then we have plywood, which is the layers of solid wood. Wood is that sliced very thin, about 1 millimeter thick, and they just keep gluing it up to give you whatever thickness you want, and then solid wood. If you look at this particular product here, we call this a veneer. Veneer is basically a word that uses to describe the outer layer or the visible layer that the consumer or the retailer see. In this case here, you can have a paper veneer, which is an actual printed paper that is glued onto the front of a surface. You can have a stone veneer, whether it be marble. You can have a glass veneer. You can have many different types of veneers. But in furniture, typically what we end up doing is having having a wood veneer. In this case here, it is wood. In this sample here, it's a walnut veneer. But we use from any kind of tree. We can have walnut, cherry, maple, oak, ash, poplar, many different types of veneer species. In this case here, though, it's a walnut veneer. They take a very thin slice from the tree log, and then they glue it or laminate it onto the front, whether it be MDF, particle board, plywood. It gives you the effect that this is all solid wood, which in fact it is. However, you're getting the beauty of the veneer by getting a select cut of veneer that gives you an outstanding grain detail, very nice details that you may not be able to achieve by using just solid wood. So this gives you a much nicer effect. and more value for what you're doing. It's also a very reliable type of product. One of the components of the bed is the side rail. Many companies today that are manufacturing for the North American market or European market are using an MDF material. Magnuson Home is committed to providing the best quality product as possible. We don't cut corners. That's why what we use on all of our side rails are plywood. Plywood is considerably stronger than MDF. It's a very safe method. What we also use, you'll notice there's this long wood strip along here. We use nothing but quality plywood that is firmly glued and screwed to the side of the side rail. In this case here, you see how we have the walnut veneer. This is just a continuation of the group that we were looking at before, but we use walnut veneer on this particular one just for this particular style. But again, we can use any kind of veneer that we use on the rest of the group depending on the finish. In addition, to attach the side rails to the headboard and the footboard, many companies will use a hook, a metal hook. But Magnuson uses bolts to ensure that once this bed is put together, it will not come apart. In this situation here, I want to show you the bed, the headboard in this particular case construction. This looks from the same group that we were looking at before, but you'll notice we use around the outer perimeter of the headboard and the legs, we're using a very solid wood. We use the veneer over MDF, which allows us to give us the curved shape. But you'll notice the solid wood that we use around the outer frame, we do this for strength and durability. In this case here, it's a rubber wood. It's a very strong wood, as I had mentioned before. And it allows us to do things like 45-degree miter joints, which are glued, wood doweled, and screwed in place. And they use an epoxy glue, which is using an epoxy glue, making it a very strong joint. The legs, you'll notice we had shown on the side rail, I had said they use bolts. You can see how we've got a nut insert, a metal insert in here that allows a wood bolt to be put in, which when they attach the bed, the side rail to the headboard, it makes a very strong product. In this case here, I have an entire dresser. We typically use the same type of construction for all of our case goods or bedroom groups that we make. You'll notice here the outer frame here we're using solid wood, solid pine. It may be solid pine, solid rubber wood. In this case, it's solid pine. We will use on the outer perimeter of the frame. You'll see solid wood all the way around. You'll also see solid wood down this center aisle here, down the center row. We will use solid wood as well. We also use solid wood inside, which I will show you later on. We will use MDF or solid wood along the stretchers that go from left to right on this piece here. We use solid wood on the outer perimeter because this is where you need to have your most strength and durability. Many companies will use MDF along the bottom and top, but MDF is not meant to carry this kind of weight. That is why we take the extra cost and put plywood in here. It's a quality product. You notice now this is the back of it. This will be covered with a full wood panel that will cover the back, but for the purposes of this demonstration, the back has been removed. I want to take the time. You'll notice inside here where we have a metal-to-metal ball bearing guide. We use these guides because they're a very smooth, trouble-free operation that will allow you to put weight in that drawer without having any problems. Not only that, they're not affected by moisture. Many times in the past, companies would use a wood guide on the bottom of the drawer, and the wood would warp or twist. The metal guides that we use here will not have any issue regarding weather-related. It's many years of trouble-free use. We also use solid wood in the sides in here where we're putting in, because this is a part that is used many times. It has to be strong, it has to be durable. So we will use solid wood in here as well. Our side panels will use particle board. We talked about that before. Particle board is the larger chip items, but we use that in the side panel. On the top, we will use MDF. We use that again because with MDF, there's more strength to the MDF, like for a flat surface. It also allows us to give a shaped edge to it. But you'll notice that on this piece here we have wood veneer. In this case it's a walnut veneer, but we use a wood veneer on the outside to give you that decorative look that what you want. We showed over in this case here, we showed how we have a solid wood frame using pine in the back. This is the front of that same piece, or the same style. And we notice here we have a different type of wood in the front. We're using, in this case here, rubber wood in the front. Rubber wood is a harder, more dense wood. It's less prone to getting dents, so it's a stronger wearing wood. Because it's visible, and in the front of the case, it will take the most wear and tear on a daily case. It will take the most wear and tear on a daily basis. On the back panel, though, the back panel covers this pine frame. We use a solid wood frame, but like I say, the back panel covers it. It's not as susceptible to being damaged because it's covered by a panel. You'll notice on the drawer fronts here how we have the veneer patterns. Let me say, we use many different types of veneers. Everything from cherry, but it all depends on the group. We'll use cherry veneer, cherry, walnut, maple, ash, oak, many different types of veneers. You're not limited. Whatever trees there are out there, you can use a wood veneer in here. On the drawers, we had talked about the drawers before. One of the features that we do is we put a color, we spray a color on the drawers, we put a sealer on the drawer to lock that color in and to protect it from any issues with moisture, any possibility of moisture. We also include on the bottom of the drawers, the top row of the drawers, on the dresser, the nightstand, and the tall chest, we will put a felt lining in the bottom of the drawer. In this case here, there's a plastic covering over the felt lining, and that's only for production purposes. Before it leaves the factory, this plastic covering is removed, and you get this beautiful brown velvet covering in here, just to give it, in case of you just have this nice brown velvet covering on the top of the drawers.